Debate all of this. Leslie Marshall and Horace Cooper back with us, two friends of the program. Happy New Year to both of you, and welcome back.
Happy New Year and happy belated birthday, Sean.
Thank you. I don't remember, Leslie, Democrats saying that Robert KKK Burton ought to step down, and he was a former admitted Klansman. I don't remember anybody complaining about that in the Democratic Party at the time.
No, I do agree with you, although I have to say it is a different time. It is a very different time.
Come on, a different time. He used the N-word on Fox News Sunday in the mid-'90s. It wasn't a different time.
No, I do think it's a different time. When you look at the racial unrest right now, we also have an African-American biracial president right now, and right now race relations are top of mind, and they're hot button topics, very emotional topics. And I think you'd agree, Sean, that even if this had been a Democrat, Republicans would have called him out, and there were even some Republicans calling him out, some saying that he should step aside so that the GOP can send a message or in the best interest of the party. I don't think he will step aside. I don't think meeting with them, by the way, makes him a racist, but I think it was a poor choice.
I think Matthew Boyle at Breitbart made the bigger point, and that is the closer relationship that he had with Duke's this guy Knight, an alliance that he had with Duke. That, to me, is the bigger problem.
Well, I can't disagree with that. Years ago, I interviewed David Duke, and if you remember, Sean, he, for a while masqueraded as a wolf in sheep's clothing, pretending that he had donned his white, hood and his old ways, and that definitely was not the case. But some people say, there are a lot of blogs out there today going, David who? That David Duke is so past and so irrelevant. I do have to say, as a Democrat, that I think it speaks volumes that one Democrat, a man of color, Congressman Richmond in Louisiana, and others who are color, whether it's Governor Bobby Jindal or Mia, who is African American, for example,
Mia Love,
have said this man, is not a racist. Again, I'm not saying he's a racist because he met with this group. I think it was a poor choice to meet with this group. And I think right now that it's come out, especially in light of what's going on throughout the country, the racial tensions throughout the country, it is magnified by that.
What do you think?
John, I love this. I know, Leslie, you didn't have anything to do with it, but progressives have done everything they can, including the President of the United States and Eric Holder, to create the very racially charged atmosphere that they then go and say 10, 15 years ago, some non-event happened. And now we exploit it today, and we expect people to say they're outraged, and we have to run people out of the party. Yet, when you make Jewish stereotypes and slurs, you're just sorry. If you say that about the Indian community, oops, it was a joke. If you even say that someone's apparently fresh, clean, and articulate for a black man, that's all fine and good because it didn't happen right in the middle of the time that progressives are charging us up and making us racially divided.
Yeah, but why was it okay? I mean, Newt Gingrich even brought this up, and why was it okay when President Obama wasn't president and he was trying to become president and running, that they bring up associations of him sitting in the pews when a man in the pulpit named Jeremiah Wright was speaking, who, many people felt was being racist as an African American toward whites or people of not people of color.
Can I give you the difference? He sat in the pews for 20 years. This was one speech that he gave before one group, and he said it was a mistake.
How many times in 20 years did Jeremiah Wright speak to racial issues?
A lot.
As a black man against white.
Well, remember, his whole church was founded on black liberation theology.
It doesn't mean for 20 years they're talking about that every Sunday in the pulpit.
Barack Obama to this date has never apologized. Now, when Vice President Biden...
Wait. What Barack Obama? You want Barack Obama to apologize for going to a church? Listen, I'm a former Christian. There are many times I sat in a church and didn't agree with what the pastor said. I had a choice to stay or to leave. I think just like in a marriage, we don't agree 100% of the time. Many people would say with their religious organizations and wherever they worship, whatever their religion, they don't agree with the person standing up there on a Saturday, a Sunday, a Friday night 100% of the time. It doesn't mean that you agree or...
That's clever rhetoric. If your spouse is going around saying, tomorrow we're going to rob the bank, tomorrow we're going to blow up the Capitol, and you say, oh, well, this is just a marital difference, I'm calling you out.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between Barack Obama and
Wright was doing. I didn't interrupt you. I did not interrupt you. What Reverend Wright was doing needed to be called out. It was completely and totally off the wall, and it was racially divisive.
So
it
then
was
you agree that
and for
this
him
needed
to
to be
deny
called
it
out.
is
You
to
agree
make
that
us
you
look like
agree
we're
with
the ones that don't get
Senator
what's going on.
Scalise being called out for this then?
Pardon me?
You agree with Senator Scalise being called out for this?
I agree that he said that it was inappropriate if he ended up going to this group without realizing it. It was wrong. It was an exercise of poor judgment. That's exactly right. What I don't agree is that when the vice president used the term Shylock to refer to Jewish people, that it was a non-issue. When he similarly made slurs against Indian Americans, it was just a joke.
Was it a non-issue because those groups didn't make it an issue, or even if we just look at reality, which is the African American community has larger numbers than Native Americans and Jews?
Wow. I did not get this. I'm glad to hear you're the one saying it. I did not know that actually the size of your group matters, whether we offend you or not.
Well, I think it's a reality. I mean, if you have a larger number of people, you're screaming louder than the smaller group. If, in fact, the smaller group is
Let me ask you this, Matthew. Let me add another thing here. Matt Boyle over at Breitbart wrote a piece that 20 years ago, when he was an up-and-coming politician, that Scalise reportedly told the reporter that he's like David Duke without the baggage. What does that mean? How do we interpret that?
Here's what I want to know. If Mr. Scalise knew the man personally and decided as a human being that he wasn't going to burn his house down and he wasn't going to destroy him in some kind of political campaign, that doesn't mean much to me. What I want to see is what is the public record of Mr. Scalise. Now, Bobby Byrd has the record and distinction of being the only United States senator who twice, when having a chance to vote for the first or the second black man on the Supreme Court, voted no both times. Now, progressives give him a pass all the way up until his death. His actions, filibustering the Civil Rights Act, filibustering the Voting Rights Act, all of his actions have been given a pass. And he got to become Senate Majority Leader with his record, never repenting, never having a day where he stood up and said, it was wrong of me to do what I did. He went to his grave without having to make that repentance. I want to understand why it's okay for that standard to be held by the Democrats and a minor event that was a non-issue that was only brought up just for the purpose of creating the very news story that it has is now somehow an important issue.
Wouldn't your party, or Republicans, if you're part of the Republican Party, have brought this up if this senator were a Democrat? And you're lying to me if you say no. Come on. Do you feel
I didn't call for Vice President Biden to step down after what I found were very offensive words that he said?
Would Republicans
I didn't ask for Senator Reid when he made the comments about Barack Obama's accent. I didn't ask for him to step down. This idea that just appearing at an event is the equivalent of actually going out of your way to organize, to oppress and deny the aspirations of one of the large members of your community is the same. That is a joke.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Why, if you're going back earlier, when you're calling out, why don't Democrats call out this person who had this voting record? Why didn't Republicans call out a former Democrat who switched parties because of his opposition to the Civil Rights Act back in '57, who was usually to his death still a segregationist? How many people can we list with voting records with regard to segregation or to civil rights or to race? Can we call out in the Republican Party that I didn't see, like a Strom Thurmond, that I've never seen Republicans call out?
I'd love for you to name him. Strom Thurmond actually came forward, acknowledged his error, and when given a chance to vote for the first black person on the Supreme Court the second time around, he voted yes. He did not.
So it's only with regard to Supreme Court members how a Democrat or Republican vote with regard to the color of the person who is up for the Supreme Court, not their voting record with regard to civil rights, segregation.
Pardon me?
Can I ask a question?
Civil rights or segregation.
Can I just stop? How does Scalise show up at a David Duke convention, which basically is what this is? It's a group that he founded, and not know. It sounds to me like he was an ambitious politician that wanted the support quote David Duke's base. Remember, he had a pretty high turnout of vote for him when he ran for governor, and what else? I think he ran for the Senate once, and he lost one of those races by like 3,500 votes. Sounds to me like Scalise wanted his support.
Sean, you and I agree sometimes, and this is one of them. There are politicians on both sides of the aisle that will dine with the devil to get their vote or their check. This was dining with the devil, if you will, and it will come back to bite you, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, as we're seeing today.
Okay, so I go into this. I can't get into anyone's mind. I can only look at what their public actions are, and that ought to be the standard.
But Horace, let me ask you one question. Do you doubt that he really knew who he was speaking to here?
All right, I don't want to embarrass my former employers, but when I worked on Capitol Hill, we never went to any racist groups, but we went to more than a few events, sometimes 12 in a day, and I literally would just hand an index card and say hello to this group. You just do a lot of things, but I don't know what.
Look, I've got to be honest.
In my personal responsibility and due diligence.
Well, hang on a second. I've got to tip my hat to Horace here for a second. In my busiest days, I gave speeches and I had no idea who I was talking to. And I was handed.
Come on,
wait a minute. In other words,
Come on, you gotta live in
wait a
the
minute.
real world.
I was handed like a note by Linda, who's shaking her head. Now, this is the person who you got to mention this guy's name and this guy's name and thank the organization.
Absolutely.
I have done that, but there was no dispute. I would think you would know a David Duke organization. In other words, that wouldn't get past me.
So
I agree with you, and for me, maybe because I'm a type A control freak, I would say to my assistant or my producer, who am I thanking, who they affiliated with, and why?
You don't have time for all of that.
No, I will usually.
Not as important as the two of you.
I will
obviously.
usually
I do have time
ask
for that.
those questions, but you're admitting my exact point, which is that you go there, you show up, you'd agreed to do the speech for a friend of yours who asked you to do it, blah, 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 and you're like, all right, who am I thanking? Who are they?
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah, but I'm not going to show. I'm not going to. I had to cancel events when I found out how bad it would make me look, or that.
No, but I mean, no, but
but
but you and I agree. I don't think you missed a David Duke organization. I think you
I
would have.
agree with you on that as well.
I don't think you missed that.
I don't
I
know
agree.
what happened that
All right,
day.
I've got to run.
I don't know what
I think
happened that day, but I do know.
Listen, I'm going to do something for both of you because you're both good friends of mine, and I want to say Happy New Year to both of you.